final opinion on the game. So, without further ado, Far Cry 5. It was okay. We'll start with graphics. Graphically, the game is really, really pretty. The game looks very, very good. I have no complaints with the game graphically. I think that it looks nice, performs well. I had a little bit of texture load in, some texture pop here and there. Nothing too drastic, nothing too heinous. Character models were really, really well done. The animals were really well done. The foliage. Can I turn down the music some? Sure, absolutely. Here, give me a second. Alright, that should ought to do it, hopefully. But yeah, the graphics were really well done in the game. I think that, overall, I think that they did a good job graphically. But as you guys know from me, personally, graphics don't really mean a whole lot to me. It doesn't matter if a game's super pretty. So it's not going to affect the final score all that much. But overall, I would give the game graphically, I would have to give it a 9 out of 10. Like I said, looks really good. Very pretty game. The cutscene in the beginning, some of the best character models I've ever seen in a video game. I've never seen character models look that good. Gameplay. Gameplay is sort of middling, in my opinion. The gunplay in the game is horrible, in my opinion. The guns handle like they weigh 10,000 pounds. The bullets travel just ridiculously slowly. The suction and auto-aim when you're playing with a controller is really obnoxious. The fact that guns have drift on each bullet really surprises me in a first-person shooter. If it was sort of an action RPG, I could get that. But the fact that where you're aiming is not where the bullet's going to go 100% of the time is a strange decision to me. I can't say that I was a fan of that. That having been said, the bow in the game, by far, best gun, or best weapon, hands down, my opinion. It handles really well, it performs well, it has a good, powerful punch to it, and it's effective at, medium, short, and close combat range. It works really well. Definitely the weapon that I use the most. Grenades are laughably weak. The fact that it takes 2 grenades to blow up a truck is just laughable to me. But also in gameplay, you have to talk about just the standard gameplay loop. The standard gameplay loop is pretty par for the course when it comes to an open world Far Cry game. There's some side activities. None of them are particularly super interesting. Some of them are okay. They're spread out, so you're going to go through areas where you don't have anything to do, and then you're going to go into areas where you have a lot of stuff to do. But again, none of the side activities were super compelling. I didn't even feel the need to complete the game 100% because it was just so uninteresting to me. So overall, or not overall, but for the gameplay category, I have to give the game a 7.5. It works well for what it does, but it offers nothing exciting, nothing really interesting. And the gunplay is just horribly bad, in my opinion. Sound design is one where I do think the game volume again, Fro. It got louder. Okay. All right, we'll take it way down. There. Okay. But no, sound design. I think they actually did a pretty good job. The trucks, cars, everything sounds authentic. The planes sound really good. The guns, definitely from an audio standpoint, have a really nice punch to them. I think that they did a very good job in that regard. The environment sounds really good. You hear all sorts of bird calls and all sorts of deer grunts and bear growls and cougar cries, and it was really, really good in that regard. I think sound design is probably one of the strongest elements of this game, and the soundtrack is fantastic. Like, I love all the old rock songs. I love the way that they're overlaid onto semi-serious situations, and I think it accents the game very well. The voice acting was really fun, in my opinion. I liked the disparate characters that you got to see, and all the differing points of view that you got to see in all of the in all of the different characters. So I think that this is probably one of the stronger points in the game. So I would actually have to give sound design an 8.5. I think it did really well. But there was definitely some things that it could have improved upon. Maybe crisped some things up a little bit. So level design. It's really hard to talk about level design in an open world game because you have to judge the whole world as a unit. You can't judge independent levels. Like each bunker, like of the 3 that you did, each bunker, not a single one of them was visually interesting. There was no reason to explore. Just follow the map marker to the next point, shoot some guys, blah blah blah. I like the fact that you did get to see a lot of different vistas. Now everything's forested, unfortunately, because it's the location. But you did get to see a lot of different vistas where you're high up on hills, high up on cliffs, looking out over the valleys below, and you had nice prairie land, flat land out there, and there was definitely that sense of being in the wilderness while you were out in the wilderness, which I thought was a really good thing. When you're running from point to point and you hear that bear, you're just like, oh crap, that's a bear, because, you're out in the woods and you feel like you're out in the woods and there's a bear. But I can't give it any, super points for anything. It was, in my opinion, I would have to say it was acceptable, maybe slightly good, but mostly it did what it needed to do. So level design, I gotta give it an 8. Slightly above average. Well, not slightly above average. It's above average, but not in the good realm or great realm. Now, story. I'm going to get a lot of flack for this. I hated the story. No, that's not true. Let me rephrase. I hated the ending. The ending was just bad, in my opinion. But we'll get to that in a second. I'll get in a little bit more detail in that. The story was insanely mundane. There were plenty of opportunities in the game where they could have filled you in a little bit more on the characters that you were dealing with or the characters that you were interacting with, but they didn't. Like the North dude, Jacob Seed, John Seed, whichever the guy from the North was with the white tails. When you finish that section, you know more about him than you know about Eli, and that's the guy that you're supposed to be working for. You know nothing about Eli, his history, his backstory, nothing pertinent to the character. And then you know a little bit about the bad guy. You know that he came back from war. He's broken, but you don't get any of his experiences that he went through, like some of the struggles that he had. Just, oh, the father saved me and made me whole again. Cool, awesome. And then like Faith, you get that one little snippet right toward the end when you're fighting her, where she says, "I didn't want to do this. He pumped me up full of drugs. I didn't want to go along with his plan." But that's literally all the story you get about Faith. Like, she's not the first Faith. She's not the only Faith. But you don't get any information about her. None whatsoever, unless you're picking up notes along the way. And then you get to see how she sort of went crazy, but not her interactions with John? Jacob? Whichever the main guy is. And so again, a huge opportunity to build up some character for one of your main bad guys, and you just failed miserably. You gave the player nothing, no reason to like her or hate her. She was just annoying and chucking fireballs at you the entire time. Now, the ending. The ending's crap. It's the cliched ending of, oh, you took down the bad guy. But wait, I had something up my sleeve that negates everything that you've done up until this point. If you're gonna pull that out on your player, it means you have no ending for your game. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to bring your story to a close. And so you went with the cheapest possible ending that you could come up with. If, when you get to the end and you decide to acquiesce and walk away, you're ostensibly saying the tens of thousands, or potentially, just thousands of people that he's killed, you're fine with that to save 12 people. you're a horrible person if you actually feel that way. The numbers don't add up. The man needs to be brought to justice. So the good ending, the one that you're supposed to be striving for, the ending that you're supposed to be striving for, they just flip you a giant middle finger right at the end. They did say what would happen if you kept fighting from the beginning. Right, but that's... the game is fighting him. So, like, it's catch-22. You can either stop playing the game and stop fighting him, and, you know, in this digital world he wins, or you actually play through the game and you get the giant middle finger at the end. So no, in my opinion, story absolutely the weakest part of this game. I did not personally find anything redeeming about the story. There was nothing that caught. Some of the companions were fun, but none of them were super memorable. Like, Herc's dad was more entertaining than Herc himself. But no, personally from me, story, it's a 6.5, and I'm being as generous as what I can by giving it a 6.5. I want to give it a 4 because it's one of the worst stories I've ever played through. Like, I'm not offended by the story, but to me, it's that bad. So all of those things factored in down here. The score is not really going to accurately reflect that because, like I said, graphics to me are sort of irrelevant. Yes, it has a 9, but it doesn't weigh that heavily on the final score for the game. Overall, I would have to give the game a 7.5. Better or worse than Skyrim's storyline? Worse, actually, because you have no agency over the story in this one. But no, I would have to give it a 7 out of 5. The value proposition for the game, I guess, you know, would I recommend the game? Yes, I would. The value proposition is roughly, I've gotten 30 hours out of it and I didn't complete it 100%. Roughly 30 hours, so at $59.99 you're looking at a $2 per hour of entertainment, which I think is perfectly fair. If I could, I would actually say wait until you get the game on sale, and hopefully you can get it for a good price. I think if you can get it for around $40, then you're really well off. If you could get it for $40 with the season pass, absolutely, go for that. But I will say that I will recommend the game because it was fun, it was entertaining, it's sort of just a brain-dead run-and-gun shooter, which you don't expect too much more out of Far Cry, you know, just being honest. That's sort of what you expect out of Far Cry. But no, it's an okay game. It's worth the $60 because of the amount of content that you can get out of it. But I would hesitate in saying absolutely pick it up. Try and get it on sale if you can. Now, there is a category that's not listed here. It's cheeseburger, 10 out of 10. Cheeseburger is awesome. I love the fact that there is a bear with diabetes in the game. I think it's fantastic.